Enough is enough, and it's time for a change! I tried to be a nice guy.
Hey guys, Red Wolf here. I'm sure most of you have already seen my Thundercats Rant video, so it gave me the idea to do a video topic on this, and knowing that all of you have read the title up above, it's about time I've unleashed all my frustrations on this topic, but I'm going to remain calm throughout the entire video. So let's begin. Okay, so we all know about the Thundercats Chibi reboot that's coming out in 2019. And of course, a lot of us are very disgusted by this. As am I. I'm not just mad that this chibi reboot is being made instead of a revived Season 2 of the 2011 Thundercats. I'm also mad because this is yet again another abomination of a reboot from Cartoon Network. Before this, I was actually starting to lighten up on Cartoon Network and Christina Miller after green lighting Infinity Train. It wasn't enough to convince me that Cartoon Network would be improving, but it was a start. However, once this new Chibi Thundercats trailer came out, all that hope I had for Cartoon Network all went out the window, because it really showed me that Cartoon Network have learned absolutely nothing. I thought they would have learned after how well the revival of the final season of Samurai Jack did in the ratings last year. I thought this could have led Cartoon Network to change their ways, maybe realizing that action cartoons could still be a thing. Maybe greenlight Galactic Kids Next Door. Maybe bring back some action cartoons like Symbionic Titans, knowing that it was made by the same creator, Genndy Tadagatsuki, who still wants to make a season 2. But no, let's keep doing more of these cheaper reboots because that's the way to go. Screw originality, screw being imaginative, screw being creative, and screw good animation because kids are going to like it no matter what. If the adults who grew up with these shows don't like it, who cares because they're no longer the targeted demographic. And since little kids didn't grow up with these cartoons, they're not going to complain about these reboots. Well, Cartoon Network, if that's the mindset you have, then you're only fooling yourselves because the adults who were kids back in the day made you the powerhouse that you are. Oh, I'm sorry, that you used to be. If it wasn't for us, you wouldn't be alive today. I know it's hard for you to believe that adults watch your shows also, but you must learn to accept that. The creators of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic have embraced the adult fans. Say what you want to say about bronies, but I highly doubt the show would be as popular if it wasn't for them. You must learn to accept the fact that adults watch cartoons also. I've also mentioned that in my Why Good Cartoons Get Cancelled video. But getting back to the reboots, we have the Teen Titans Go, Powerpuff Girls, and Ben 10 reboots. And now we have this new Thundercats reboot which looks like absolute crap. Can anybody please tell me what the point of these reboots are? And second, why are these reboots made to look like absolute crap? The original Teen Titans, Ben 10, and the Thundercats had a really good animation for the time they came out in. But it seems like, to me, Cartoon Network doesn't want to go back to the more complex animation style. It's the same problem that I have with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon that's going to premiere later on this year. The same can be said for Marvel's Spider-Man. It just seems like animators nowadays don't want to put a lot into making the shows look good. I wouldn't be against the reboots if the creators actually tried putting in some effort into these shows. Look at the 2011 Thundercats reboot. It was great. The new fans loved the show, and the old fans found it very satisfying. Some of the other fans of the 80s didn't like it, but at least you can say the show had some effort put into it with the animation and the writing. You can tell it's a show that wanted to outdo the original, and honestly, I think the 2011 Thundercats is better in my opinion. Not taking anything away from the 80s cartoon, it's definitely a classic show, but I just felt the 2011 version had a better plot. I'm not afraid to say that, and I know I'm not alone on this. I could even say the same thing about the 2002 He-Man cartoon. It was a great reboot of the 80s cartoon. The thing I want to say about these cheaper reboots is that if you're not going to put the heart and effort into recreating them, then just leave them alone, because these shows are beloved by the older fans. People want to remember these shows for how great they were, and not want them to be associated with these watered down shows. I mean, seriously, who are they appealing to with these reboots? They are clearly not appealing to the older fans because they already knew they were going to get pissed. They want to appeal to kids, but the thing is that most of these kids have never even heard of the original shows because they were born like way after when these shows were released. Which means most of these shows are new in their young minds. And because of that, this is who they're going to think who the true Thundercats are unless they've seen the 2011 reboot. Kids are going to think Thundercats Roar are the true Thundercats unless the older fans show them the original. And in a way, when you look at the old shows and see how well animated and deep they were for their time, but then we see these brand new incarnations of their shows, it really shows that we are not progressing, but regressing in quality animated shows. I have nothing against cheaply comedy cartoons like SpongeBob because I grew up with shows like that, but it would be nice if we had more action cartoons that took themselves more seriously, had a detailed animation and overarching stories. I mean, come on, what's wrong with variety? Cartoon Network used to be so good at this back in the day, back when they had blocks like Toonami, Saturday Video Entertainment System, and Magoozy. We didn't just have cartoons like The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy and Ed, Edd and Eddy. We also had action cartoons like Justice League, Samurai Jack, and the 2003 Teen Titans. Cartoon Network these days have no variety, with Teen Titans Go being mostly aired. People blame Vishnu, and yes, he plays a part to that, but Christina Miller is the one that's okaying these Teen Titans Go marathons. Since she's been here on Cartoon Network, she's done absolutely nothing but ram Teen Titans Go down our throats. She disrespected Boomerang, and she okayed 3 reboots, being both the 2016 Powerpuff Girls and Ben 10, and now this abomination of a Thundercats reboot. She is the worst president ever. She's even worse than Stuart Snyder, and I honestly never thought there would be a worse president than Stuart Snyder. We can say what we want to say about him, about what he did to Cartoon Network from 2007 to 2009 with all the live action crap and him canceling Toonami, but at least Stuart Snyder tried different things. At least there was variety on the network. At least the shows were 22 minutes long, which, by the way, is something Cartoon Network should have never gotten rid of. I mean, seriously, the 11-minute format is just stupid. And finally, we had action shows. Even though he did a lot of bad for the network, he at least learned from his mistakes in 2010. Christina Miller, however, has learned absolutely nothing since she's been here in 2014. I know people don't want to blame her because she's a woman somehow, but the thing is, if the network itself is doing pretty bad and you're the president, you're pretty much responsible. And when I look at her, she doesn't seem like someone that knows what she's doing. I'm sure she's a really nice person in real life, but she sucks at her job and she needs to step down. And if she won't step down, somebody please fire this bitch. And it's not just for her, but all the other out-of-touch executives and Vishnu. But I shouldn't really put all the blame on Cartoon Network for this Thundercats reboot, as they just greenlit the show. The reason for all of this happening is Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers played a huge part to why this show was made. They're the ones that made Teen Titans Go. They're the ones giving the show its own movie, which I will boycott, and I hope that fucking movie bombs. They're screwing up the DC live action movies, and I forgot to mention this in my Thundercats video. The creator of the show says he was a fan of the original Thundercats back in the 80s. Is he really? Because this to me doesn't look like a show that was made by a true fan of Thundercats. If he was a true fan of Thundercats, he wouldn't make a Thundercats show to look like this. However, I think Cartoon Network were the ones that wanted it to be that way, seeing that they no longer wanted action cartoons anymore. And to me, Christina Miller is most likely the reason why we no longer have action cartoons anymore. Like I said, since 2014, there have been no action cartoons. Maybe it's because toys weren't selling, the animation was too expensive, or maybe she thinks that action cartoons are too violent for kids. Whatever the reason is, I'm sure there could have been a reason to fix all of this. If you've seen the original Thundercats, you damn well know that the show worked because it was an action cartoon. When Lino used the Eye of Thundera, either from the original or the 2011 version, you know shit was getting real. Now that it's a comedy, it's not going to have that same feeling anymore, and it's gonna be the same just like every Cartoon Network show right now. I understand doing something different, but just because it's different doesn't make it good. These reboots completely go away from what made the originals popular, and from us going to quality animated shows to these chibi-style comedy reboots is just insulting, and people who defend these reboots like Teen Titans Go wonder why we hate these shows. And shame on Warner Brothers for making this happen. This company is so out of touch, and I seriously can't wait until the AT&T merger happens and hopefully fires every last one of them, including the higher-ups at Cartoon Network, because none of them know what they're doing anymore. They might just fire a few people, but if it were up to me, I would clean house, fire every last one of these guys, because none of these guys know what they're doing. AT&T, hurry the hell up and buy these guys out. And to anybody out there defending the decisions Cartoon Network has been making for years, you're as much to blame as you want to try and spin everything off into a positive. If I see one video from the roundtable, and I know how PC and overly positive that channel is, if I see one video from them telling people to give the Thundercats chibi reboots a chance, I am going to lose it. I've already seen one channel defending this. I'm not gonna give names here, but he basically uses the same arguments I've heard people use to try to defend shows like Teen Titans Go. Oh, it's made for kids and therefore you shouldn't criticize it. I'm gonna say this again. Just because it's a kids show doesn't mean it deserves a pass. Look, I understand wanting to find the positive in everything, but the thing is, you can't excuse everything that's controversially being criticized by a large group of people. I'm not asking you to agree with the backlash, but try to understand why people are upset about this before judging them, calling them stuff like nostalgia-tard crybabies, because these people have a reason to be angry. It's okay to be negative and give criticism, because if we're not, then how can anything improve for the better? Don't tell me to give it a chance, because I already know based off the trailer and Cartoon Network's history with reboots how this is going to end up. I'm not gonna give the show a chance because I don't watch Cartoon Network anymore, and I'd much rather watch a show that doesn't make me feel ashamed to still love animation. I only tune in for Cartoon Network just for Toonami, and that's it. Why am I talking about it? Because it needs to be said. I used to love Cartoon Network back in the day, and I'm passionate about animation and want to see good coming from it. As a person like me that wants to be a cartoon animator after graduate school, I want to see better. If you want me to only be positive and not say anything negative, that's not going to happen. I'm not a blind sheep like you people. We have to give criticism to even our favorite kids' networks. We can't agree with everything they do. This is not me being an angry fanboy. This is me stating the truth. But getting back to these reboots, it's quite apparent to me that Cartoon Network is going to continue doing these reboots, seeing as they've learned absolutely nothing. I'm sure they're going to reboot more classic shows we used to love and water it down. Dexter's Laboratory, Codename Kids Next Door, or the 80s He-Man cartoon. Cartoon Network only makes these comedy reboots because they want to cash in on the success of the original. That's all. They're not original, and that's why they're failing. None of these parody reboots serve a purpose. The Powerpuff Girls reboot is a flop. The show doesn't even perform well in the ratings, yet Christina Miller keeps it around. I'm a huge fan of the original Powerpuff Girls when it was released back in 1998, and it really pains me to see one of, if not my favorite Cartoon Network show from the original Powerhouse lineup, having to associate itself with this shitty reboot. And the fact that they didn't bring back the original voice actors was enough for me to say fuck this show. When you listen to the Powerpuff Girls, you think of the original voice cast. Even Craig McCracken, who was the creator of the show, didn't want the reboot to happen, and I can tell he doesn't like it. The Ben 10 2016 show was already a show I hated before I even saw the show. I didn't even want to lay eyes on it when it first premiered. We've already had enough Ben 10 shows as it is. There's no point in bringing back another one, especially a reboot. Teen Titans Go? I've already said enough about that show. And here we are with this crappy Thundercats reboot. It makes no sense to reboot the Thundercats when you already have a reboot not so long ago that was praised by fans of the original and new fans as well. It would have been better if they just brought back the 2011 Thundercats cartoon instead of wasting our time with this abomination. The Thundercats cartoon was short-lived and ended on a cliffhanger. Why not bring it back? If you don't want to, then just give it to Toonami or Netflix. They'll know what to do with the show. The show would do way better on Netflix than they did on your crappy network. Not having to worry about stupid toy sales and being jerked around to all the worst possible time slots. There is a reason why Nickelodeon is doing a way better job than Cartoon Network in the ratings. I'm not the biggest fan of Nickelodeon currently, but at least they have variety on their network and do a way better job at selling nostalgia to older fans. The Hey Arnold movie was really good, and I'm really hyped for the Invader Zim movie in the future. Disney XD does a way better job than Cartoon Network also. I was never the biggest fan of theirs, but they to me are the best kids block right now. They have a variety, they have good shows like Star vs. the Forces of Evil, and guess what? They actually know how to handle a proper reboot. Don't believe me? Look at the current DuckTales show. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of Marvel's current action shows, at least they bring variety to the network. I know Disney XD will most likely be closing soon, and it would suck, but at least Disney XD did put effort into their network. I'm very disappointed in the current direction of Cartoon Network. It seems to me like the people who work there aren't trying anymore. This is why people are moving to anime, because animation-wise, what American cartoons currently could compete with animes like My Hero Academia or Attack on Titan? I rest my case. Thankfully, we still have Voltron, the Legendary Defender on Netflix, and Young Justice Season 3 coming back to the DC streaming service. It does show that there is still hope for quality animated shows. Hopefully, more action cartoons are put on these streaming sites than idiotic networks like Cartoon Network, because they don't know how to handle these shows. This is the last time I'm ever gonna rant on a Cartoon Network reboot. If they reboot another show from my childhood and turn it into a joke, I'm just not gonna mention it. Me giving these abomination of reboots this much attention is keeping these shows relevant, and more people should do the same. If you want less shows like Teen Titans Go, don't talk about these reboots anymore because they're not worth our breath. From this day forward, I'm done. No more rant videos on reboots like Teen Titans Go, the 2016 Ben 10 and Powerpuff Girls, especially the second reboot of Thundercats. The Thundercats reboot was the last straw, and I'm done making rants on Cartoon Network. Until Christina Miller and all of the other higher-ups at Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers leave, I'm done with this network. And hopefully someone who could be as good as Betty Cohan or Jim Samples fix this damn network. Because once Christina Miller is gone, she will not be missed. But anyways guys, this is Red Wolf signing out, and I'll see you next time. Peace.